All right, Coach Kavanaugh, who is the offensive line coach and run game coordinator at the Harvard of the Midwest, Eastern Illinois University. Coach, thanks for being here.
Appreciate it. Cannova, Cannova. Easily confused.
I'm a dumb country boy, so like me and English letters don't get along very well.
It's all good, brother.
That's why my last name's Kaczewski, so I'm like, just Coach Steve. Don't even worry about the Polishness.
I've gone by Coach Nova for a long time for the same reason, so I get it.
I apologize. You can hop off and tell me to F off if you want.
Hell no. Let's get this thing rolling.
See, now I lost my train of thought. See, I thought I had it down. I was like, I don't need to ask him. I don't need to figure out what his last name is. I got this. Because I grew up by Champaign-Urbana in Oakwood, Illinois up there. And so small town, we don't worry about talking right. We're y'all and country and corn and whatever it is.
Y'all ain't fixing. Yep, I get it.
It's not as bad as Texas, though. My friend moved to Texas. He visited it like 2 years later, and he was starting to say y'all all the time. And I'm like, oh, don't forget where you're from. You're from Central Illinois. Don't be trying any of that. Well, Coach, first of all, glad you're at Eastern because I went to Eastern, so glad you're there. You guys are doing great things. How did you end up at Eastern? How did you get into coaching? How did you end up in the big town of Chucktown down there?
Yeah, for sure. So fired up to be on, just kind of talking some ball, but I got hired. Coach Wilkerson hired me February of 22. Prior to that, I was a grad assistant at Texas Tech for 3 seasons and kind of was working my way around the country coaching. Born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago.
Yep.
Went to school, North Central College, played there, got my start at St. Ambrose University in Davenport, Iowa, and just kind of started getting on this wild train and got around some great people and some great places, but ended up at Utah State for a couple of years, Texas Tech for 3 years, and then fortunate to get in a room with Coach Wilkerson when he was hired and throw my hat in the ring, interview with him, and fortunate that he hired me. And it's been a great opportunity and great experience so far, and can't wait to keep this thing rolling in the right direction.
Oh yeah, I've had him on here. I've had Deckerson on here. I've had Hillman on here. I'm trying to get the whole Eastern staff to roll on here. But like Wilkerson was great at the University of Chicago and is like great down there because he brings that Division III type of family atmosphere, I think, down to the FCS level. And that's what he talked about. He's like, my staff's great. We do this. We're about each other. We're not worried about anything else. I'm like, oh, that's great. So he talks about you guys like that, and it's great. We're in Chicago because now I live in Naperville now. So I'm up here.
Born and raised in Wheaton, Illinois.
Right down the road. It's
right down the road, North Central College. So I've spent plenty of time in Naperville.
Oh yeah, I live right by the Top Golf there off of 88, and Naperville North is 10 minutes that way. Matia's right there. North Central is 10 minutes that way.
Oh yeah.
When are they going to make the jump? Because they're too big. They're too good to be Division III.
They're a proud Division III institution, and they're not going anywhere. They're putting their name in with the big dogs, and they're going to stay there for a long time.
I can't get away from you North Central guys. Our head coach played at North Central. He played linebacker there. I coached at East Aurora. Nick Kukoc, he played there.
He was my running back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, see, what a small world.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a fantastic person he is, too. Like, I'm not saying that sarcastically. Like,
no, he's awesome. I'm fired up with the success he's having there, and it's no shocker to me.
Yeah.
Just infectious personality and just through and through, he's a meathead football player, but he's a great human being.
I coached there. So my now wife, she went to York, and we met at Eastern, moved up here in 2018. I coached 1 year at Glenbard East in 2018. Then the 2019, he needed a O-line coach at East Aurora. I was volunteering at Glenbard East, so I was like, a stipend? Sure. Over there. I hopped over there, but he was like, but Steve, I'm going to tell you what you're about to get into here at East Aurora and stuff like that. And the funny thing was, he was doing drills with them while they had pads on. He had no pads on. He's running full routes. He's getting the handoffs and running. And me and him are the same age. And I'm like, you're aging much better than I am because I am not about to start doing that. Like, because we didn't have enough players one practice. And so he's like, Steve, you're going to have to go play O-line. I'm going to have to be this. And I'm like, wait, what? He goes, yeah, just don't wear a helmet. And I'm like, hold on a second. You're a CrossFit guy and like you're in shape. I like to not do those things. I don't want to do CrossFit. I like to chill. My playing days are over. But he was great. I learned, and like I was so mad. That was the year we went 4-5. We were 6 points away from making the playoffs. If we would have scored one more touchdown, we would have made the playoffs. And it would have been the first time since 1982 at the time for the school. But they finally did it last year. Last year they went 5-4 and made it. But he calls the players like sir all the time. He doesn't he's always like, sir, come here, sir, come here. And I've never heard a coach do that, but he's like, I'm trying to be respectable. And I'm like, okay, you're a different cat. And I learned a lot from because he's rebuilding that program.
Hell yeah.
And right before I had left, Bonzi Valley had a job opening. And we were telling him to apply for it because he's a good person, get a little bit more resources, he'll do it. And he just couldn't do it. He's like, I'm so loyal here. I got to rebuild this. And I was like, okay, you're taking like that North Central approach of like rebuilding it. And I appreciate, like, that's respectable. So I learned a lot from that part of it. And I hated leaving him, but I was also like, hey, it's not all about the money, but if I go to Addison Trail, my stipend's going to go up by like $3,000 or $4,000. So I kind of need to make the hop and kind of continue to grow myself and super respectful about it. I don't mean to be on a Nick Kukoc, but like small world. It's just
I can go on about Nick. He was an unbelievable teammate. He was fun to play in front of for a few years.
Oh, I heard stories. Because our head coach, he is 38 or 39 years old. He was a part of the teams that started to rebuild the North Central program. He played linebacker there. And because I was like, oh, did you play with this guys? And he's like, no. He goes, we weren't very good when I was there, but like we were establishing what was coming. And so he was there. He had a couple tackle records. Chris Bazant was his name. I don't know. And but then our kids always talk about like, well, that's just Division III. And we're like, you want to go watch them? You want to go see what they're about? Because they look like a Division II FCS team. Like, oh my God. But anyway, so you went around coaching for a little bit. You got to Eastern. Was Eastern any type of culture shock to you? Because Charleston is like, a lot of kids come from the suburbs of Chicago down to Eastern. And it's like a culture shock. Like, oh, this is a small town, that's Eastern is what that town is. Was any of it like a culture shock? Did you have to learn anything new, or was it just, this is easy?
I've adapted easily to jobs and schools I've worked with. And I really feel like it's a lot about you make it what it is. So the people here are awesome. There's great place to eat. The support in the community is phenomenal. So you can make the most out of the situation. And really it is a phenomenal place. And I've loved every second of being here and having had opportunities to leave over the last couple of years. And I'm not ready to do that yet. I want to keep seeing this thing move in the right direction and keep being around the right people. And like you said earlier, Coach Wilkes, one of the best. And he takes a D3 mentality because you feel like he's in it with you. He's in the dirt with you. He's doing the little things that you don't normally see a Division I head football coach do on a daily basis. And the best compliment I can ever give him is the exact same person every room he's in. The exact same person you got in your Zoom is the exact same one in our team meeting, as a staff meeting, or when we're sitting in a living room with a family. So he's a phenomenal human being, and it's been fun to work for him.
You guys turned it around pretty quick. What do you think was one of them, besides Coach Wilkerson, was there anything else that like immediately, like you guys should have made the playoffs and stuff so like immediately it got turned around? What do you think kind of led to that quick turnaround? And then now, is there like more pressure, or is it like excitement? Like no pressure, get better, but it's exciting to do it again.
Well, first definitely there were some challenges and trying to rebuild and retool the roster that had definitely a good foundation, some good pieces, but obviously you have to continue to improve your roster at this level, and not having as much success in the previous seasons. We knew that, and coming out of 22, finishing 2-9, we knew that we're going to have to rebuild through some transfers and was really recruiting and developing the right people that fit our culture, the blue collar, hard work, hard hat and lunch bell mentality. And we were able to, I was fortunate. I had a number of offensive linemen that were part of the program, but really last fall, we ended up starting 3 new guys in the program. And really it all came down to, we had stability at the quarterback position. And for us, when you look at us, our quarterback and our center played every offensive snap last year.
Oh, wow.
So part of that was we played a lot of close football games, so they were in it to the very end. But we were able to stay healthy down the stretch, and we were able to have some continuity at a couple key positions that really helped us offensively. And then defensively, we played really well and took the ball away and had a really great run defense, but also kept guys out of the end zone and really bowed up when it came in the red zone.
Yeah, you guys had a ton of close games, and
Yep.
that's compliment to the offense, like grinding it out, and like if you go 4 and out, you might come down and score again. When I talked to Wilkes and Deckerson, they were like, yeah, our defense did great, but then we had to complement that by taking time off the clock and doing those type of things. And the big thing was not giving up, I guess, right? Like, we're not going to talk about the previous regime because that's not what we do, but that's a turnaround. Like, hey, we're going to fight till the end.
And I think that's part of it takes time. And I think when you're a part of culture and you're not experiencing how to finish or how to win, that's a learned skill and a learned trait. And it really, and I tell everybody in the last year, it started with the Illinois State game when I think there was a little bit of, all right, we're back in that same mentality. It was a 1-score game all the way through, but we couldn't get the ball over. We could not drive down the field and score. And it took one drive at the end of the game where we executed for a full drive, 93 yards, and scored a touchdown to win by a point. That there was not another game where our guys didn't think we could win. And that was important to really how the rest of the season went. And even when we had a couple close games that we lost, the belief was still there that we can do this. And the guys really bought into it, and it showed throughout the season.
Right. There was a comment here, and I laughed. This coach, he's at Bismarck. You have Bryce. Bryce is on your guys' team. He's from Westville.
Yep.
My buddy used to coach, I had a buddy coaching at Westville who was coaching him a couple years ago, and he got invited to the big man camp at U of I. And it was funny because Bryce loves my podcast, so he kept commenting on it. And so he texted my friend and said, hey, can Steve come down and come watch this camp with you to watch me? And I'm like, sure. Met the parents, blah, blah, blah. And then he got offered a preferred walk-on, and I said, well, that's cool, but do you have any like offers? And he goes, well, Eastern Illinois is like offering me. And I said, go to you. No offense to Illinois, because I grew up in Illinois. I'm a fan, but and I know you guys are playing them. First game, it's gonna be very awkward for me of what to do there. But I was like, you need to go to Eastern because it's a football school. No offense to the other sports. It's got a tradition. There's great coaches, blah, blah, blah. And I know he could have transferred out at one point when there was a coaching change, but he didn't. So hopefully you're taking care of my boy Bryce down there too. I heard he's doing good.
No, he's really developing and maturing. And again, it's all about as an offensive line, there's development that goes into it, and trying to find a way to grow from 18 to 22 at the line of scrimmage. The physicality, it takes some time, but he's doing a great job. And he's a great addition to our room. And shoot, coach, I'm as I'm looking at your picture right now, I just got to say, you got a lot of orange there and not a lot of blue.
Oh, sorry.
Right now?
Am I blocking
covering up a Panther head? Okay, good.
I got one.
I got a couple block eyes in my view right now, so I was wondering what side we're on right now.
No, I got to rearrange it. Like I said, sometimes I get stuff and I just put on the wall and I don't think about it. I just put on the wall. No. Like I said, I know it's awkward. I grew up 20 minutes from U of I, so we grew up Illinois fans. Walked on at Eastern. Now I'm an Eastern guy. Then I see it on the schedule, came out, and they're playing each other. So already people are like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, you know what? I just may not watch that game. I may just leave it alone. It's a win-win, lose-lose for me.
Yep.
No, I hope I don't offend you with that Illinois thing. I got Eastern stuff.
Nope. I grew up an Illinois fan too. I get it.
I just don't have Eastern Illinois gear anymore. It either is old or it doesn't fit. I gotta upgrade.
So you're saying I should send you something? Is that what we're getting after here?
Yeah.
I can make that happen. I got a guy.
Yeah, just send it on up. And I'll rock it every day. I'll put it on.
Okay.
Or the Eastern stuff I have is the old logo. It's not the new one. Because when it came out, I wasn't a fan. I loved the old one so much. I was like, nope. And then what was it, like 2 years later, 3 years later, I was like, all right, it grew on me. It's fine. You know, when you guys got the
it's modern, it's upgraded. When you compare it, you get it.
Right. So, at first I was like, nah. What made me a bigger fan of Eastern was when Dino Babers was there. This was back when you could help out spring ball. So I went and helped out spring ball, and Jimmy G was there, and all these guys were there, and I loved it because I think that kind of started more with Eastern about like the cohesiveness of Eastern and like how it built up when Eastern is playing well. That whole community is rocking and rolling. It's awesome. And so, like, of course, they were rocking and rolling. They won the conference 2 years in a row, made the playoffs, and it was just rocking. And so that's why I think sometimes there is pressure for Eastern coaches because if you're not consistent, it does not do that, right? Like that's why I kind of like Eastern. It's a small town feel for a college environment, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And then even like we said, with pressure and expectations, you had a number of seasons where the expectations were not very high. So even sometimes within the building. So now within our building, within our locker room, the expectations are high, and the expectation is to win eight games again. And that, for those of us that have been around football long enough to know that winning isn't easy, and winning takes a lot of time, effort, and energy. And you got to get a little lucky at times too, but you got to put yourself in the right position to do it. But yes, there are expectations, and yes, there's some pressure to it, but shoot, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing it. It's it's an awesome opportunity for our program to really continue to leave no doubt in what we're doing. And that was not an 8-3 fluke, that we really are moving in the right direction, changing the culture, changing the attitude within the building, and having that come through with the results on the field.
Right. Did you always coach offense or O-line, or did you coach like other things when you got into it?
O-line every day of my life. I only ever played it, only ever coached it.
All right. Like you might be too young. There was Coach Yost and Coach Sabo. They played at Central. Okay. See, I can't get away from you guys.
So they were younger. They were older than me, but since I've been out and since I've been back at Eastern, I've been able to develop a relationship with both those guys, being at Burlington, at Yost being the head coach there now, and then Sabo working with the Fist football development, that be able to develop a relationship with both those guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't get away from you, damn North Central guys. There's
always we're all over the place.
Well, now Sabo's at Aurora University, and I just had him on, and he's still going to teach, and he's going to do that. And I'm like, oh, you're really living the dream now. You're going to teach, and instead of going to a high school to coach, you're going to go to a college. Oh my god, and he can still do Fist football. There's he can still do it. I'm like, oh, good for you, man. You're living the dream. Sorry, I just had to go back to the North Central thing. I cannot get away from any of you. What was I going to say? Okay, so you only coach O-line. Why do you? I know you played it. Was there ever an inkling to go coach something else, or was it like, nope, that's it?
It's something that's come natural to me, and I think there's a lot of things that go into playing offensive line that are innate to the individual, and there's a mentality to it. That you're really going to do. Behind me, right? There's O-line creed. I give that to the guys every year. Just talking about, we're going to be first ones in, last to leave. The ones that accept the blame and the criticism with not much of the reward of it. But we really take the pride in the team doing well and being a unit and doing it together and having a mentality, a lead from the front mentality, that we want that responsibility. And I've embraced that. And I really do believe that it is the best position in sport, because it takes 5 guys to do it. It's not an individual deal. They're really the only stats that you can judge no line by are negative, other than wins and losses. So you really have to buy into the team mentality of it. And that's been a part of me for a long time. And shoot, when I was 8 years old, they put a stripe in my helmet, so I couldn't play anything else. So it was, I bought into it, and I've loved every second of it. But yeah, it's been O-line every day.
That was my plan. But then all the high schools I've coached at, coaches will tell me what to do. Like, I coached at my high school right away. I was all line, D-line, because that's what I played. And then I was at Charleston. Cole can tell you, Coach Hogan was the head coach, and he looked at me and he said, okay, you can come coach, but you're doing running backs and linebackers. And I was like, what? I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? He goes, oh, yeah, you got to coach this, and you got to help out my varsity defensive coordinator, and you got to call JV defense. And I said, what? And then the next year it turned into, well, hey, now you got to go help receivers. Now you got to go do this. So I was forced to do other things. But what saved my coaching career was when I moved up to the suburbs, and I thought I was all that because I was in Central Illinois for so long. I come up here, I'm like, wait, I know nobody. How do I get a job? And Glenbard East is like, well, I prefer to have 2 O-line coaches, so you need to come here and be my assistant O-line coach. And I'm like, okay, what did Nick Kukoc need? An O-line coach. Hopped over there. What did Ashton Trail need? They needed an O-line coach and a run game coordinator. So I hopped over there. So then I started to ask the question to people, do people not want to coach O-line, or is there just like no true O-line coaches? Because that's the only way I bounced around.
Yeah.
Was because I could coach O-line. And I'm like, I don't still think people want to do it. Because I think it's the toughest position to coach. Because you got to watch 5 people.
It takes the right personnel and the right people that it's part of the job. And it's part of, there are 5 people on every play, but like I said, it's 5 people working together, and it's when it goes right, it's pretty damn cool to be a part of.
Oh yeah. Well, to answer my own question, yeah, because I got guys at the school, they'll come down and try to check out O-line, but they're like, how'd you see the backside do this when the play was to the front? I was like, well, I got to look at it all. Yep. I got to be able to see their whole footwork. And in film sessions, why do I rewind it 5 times or 6 times? I'm trying to watch all the footwork, and I'm coaching it very quick, like, oh, boom, 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 boom. And I think O-line rooms are the best O-line, like the film rooms. Like, they're the best because we can joke around, we can have fun. It's hooping and hollering. It's giving each other shit when something goes wrong.
Yep.
And it's the best. And the best is when you've established your room culture, when the older players start repeating what you say to the younger guys, or when they're like, that's just Coach Steve. He's going to say dad jokes or something like that. Just ignore him. And then I watch other rooms, and it's like, oh, this isn't fun. I've sat in wide receiver meeting rooms and quarterback meeting rooms. I'm like, this isn't fun. This is kind of boring. Like, I'm going to go back to my old line and watch them hit people and do all that stuff. And like you said, I always try to repeat to them, when something goes right, they're going to look at the quarterback or wide receiver. I'm going to be on the sideline hooping and hollering for you guys.
Yeah.
When something goes wrong, I'm going to turn to the head coach or OC and say, that's on me. Don't worry about it. I did that today. We're going over pass protection, and I said, we cannot block this linebacker. It's a running back's job. If he makes the play, people in the stands are going to say, O-line, block somebody. Why is he getting there? And I'm going to turn around to the people in the stands and say, shut up. That's the running back's job. And so I think they appreciate knowing that I'm going to have their back. And I think you can only do that with O-line, to be honest. Yeah. Like, it's like the only one, in my opinion. And
heck yeah. And like you said, it's just the perception versus what goes on in the room is different, but you do always accept whether it's the criticism or the blame of it, but that's part of it. And that's knowing where we're at and what we did last year and what we did well and we didn't do well offensively. Shoot, I know I help with the scheme and the protection scheme when it doesn't go well and it's not the O-line, it's not known to the outside world, but that's okay. That's what, as long as we at the end of the game are able to, like I say, put your feet in the end zone, see a W on the scoreboard, everybody's happy.
So with you being O-line and run game coordinator, is the run game coordinator just a fancy title, say you're O-line, or do you have a lot of input with OC stuff of like running back needs to try to do this and maybe your fullback or H-back needs to try to do this? Do you have a lot of input there as well, being like a college run game guy?
I think there's always some, and I think for us, it's you always work at the direction of the offense coordinator, and the beauty of it is Coach Derrickson and we're on the same page with what we want to do offensively. So when things do arise, we usually see it pretty quickly between whether it's Coach Derrickson, myself, our tight ends coach, our running backs coach. We're always on the same page. I do have some influence on a couple things that I really truly believe in and what we do, but it's very much our staff being on the same page and not making sure we're working together. But we had a conversation even earlier today. We see it the same way,
right?
Which is great, and it has made even the transition from last fall to this spring very, very seamless.
Yeah, because I'm the same way. Like, came in as O-line guy, and Coach Bazan was like, "Yeah, you're going to be like the run game coordinator." And it was the COVID year, mind you. It was summer 2020, because I was like, COVID can't last this long. I'm going to take the job. And of course, COVID, we had to wait till the spring. And I went to him and I said, is this just a fancy title for being the O-line coach? And he's like, no. Like, you're going to work with the OC on the run game. You guys are going to get on the same page, but you're going to have say into how does the running back's footwork and stuff fit in with what's happening up front. How does the H-back block? How does the tight end block? You're going to have influence on that. And I said, cool, as long as me and the OC are on the same page, like you just said. And then the reason why I get that title is because during the game, where am I looking? I'm looking at the box. I'm looking here. I can tell him what's open in the run game while he's looking. Yep. OC's looking at the pass. So we're working together in that aspect, because my job is just to say, don't run this. My job is to say, hey, these 2 run plays out of these 3 formations are there. You pick one. And if you do, you don't. If you do, you do. And if it works, it's not me, it's you. You called it. I'm the little guy on your shoulder just telling you, like, hey, this is there. And then, but I have influence in like running back drills, kind of like just to make sure these things are getting done. Like that's the only influence I really have is we went to a pistol team last year. So I had to make sure like this is getting here. What's their read on inside zone, making sure the wide zone's read, making sure power's read. But like I have those conversations with like the running back guy or the OC and say, just make sure these are getting done. And I trust you. However you get it done, get it done. But I trust you how you get it done. I don't care what the drill is. I don't care what it is. As long as when we get to team and it looks good, because when it doesn't look good, it's going to come back to me and be like, well, you said that we should be doing this. Now it's not looking good. And I'm like, and that's going to come back on me. And so, like you said, as long as I don't care how you do it, just do it.
Yeah. Some of that, we do spend a lot of time together. So for us to get on the same page happens pretty quick.
Right. How's the recruiting world looking at the FCS level? Because, you know, the world is changing around college football,
Sure.
Transfer portal. I always say this. I don't trust the media stuff because they talk about a small percentage of what we see. Like it is the Wild West, but it's not. But at the FCS level, I know it's a little different. Is that transfer portal recruiting world really impacting a lot? Or is it just kind of, we can get a couple guys from the portal, but we still heavy go to high school?
You know what? I would say it's an ever-changing landscape and still in college football right now. And it's become a media-driven thing that the transfer portal is kind of it's still the hot, new, cool, sexy thing to do. And in the media, it's in Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it's out there. And guys want, a lot of it is some of the instant gratification attention of it that isn't really in the dirt of what you want to get done. It's go to college, get a degree, potentially move on. So yes, it's ever changing for us. We always put a heavy emphasis on recruiting the right high school guys that fit us. And if we need to at a position, we will recruit transfers to fill a spot. If we say we had a guy leave the program from that spot, we do need to replace in that. Obviously want to replace someone older that's willing to come in and kind of fill the same void that was left.
Right.
I say it a bunch. The transfer portal is a big deal. One of the bigger deals that doesn't get talked about as much right now is the extra COVID years.
Yes. Yep.
Because you have a lot of guys that are staying for 5th, 6th, 7th years, which is awesome in college football. But that's really taken spots away because the number of scholarships has not changed over that time.
Right.
But you have more people for the same number of spots. So once we get through the next year and the year after, when the COVID years are all really cleared out of your roster, then you can count on, hey, this guy's definitely done with their eligibility. They can leaving the program. Do we want to replace with a transfer high school? But even now within college football programs, you have guys that are in their 5th year of college. And, well, is this going to be my last year? Or do I want to come back for one more? And trying to pin them down and make a decision is a different deal. And that's impacting rosters and numbers. But we really want to try and still continue to recruit and develop the high school guys that fit our program. But yeah, we will take advantage of whether it's junior college or 4-year transfers.
I had an FCS coach tell me this, and I can't remember who, because I've done this podcast for so long. He said some FCS coaches sometimes feel like it's almost becoming like a JUCO, like an FCS is almost a JUCO, depending on where you go. Because they develop a kid for 2, maybe 3 years with the COVID years, because they're still dealing with that. So they develop him as a freshman, develop him as a sophomore. Maybe they keep him as a junior. But then he becomes an All-American or does whatever. All of a sudden, a Power 5 swoops in and takes him. And then he still has his COVID year, so he plays for like 2 more years in certain situations. So he's like, FCS is almost becoming a JUCO the longer this goes on. But that's a great point, though. Maybe it's because of the COVID year stuff. Once that's done, maybe that doesn't happen as much.
You will still see some of that. That's definitely going to happen. I think when you at least talking and communicating with high school coaches a lot, they're talking about transferring a lot. And right now that's part of it. But really the COVID years are definitely have an impact as well. But we haven't seen a ton of it right now in our program. But obviously it's happening all over the place. It's something we're prepared for and have a plan for when that does happen, where if someone in our program does well and is able to move up, having something that for us to be able to continue to operate and continue to impact and enhance the culture of the building. We want to make sure we're adding the right people to our
Right.
team.
Right. Yeah, I don't think you guys lost a lot. So far it's
Just a few, we lost a few, and that's, you know what, guys had opportunities and good for them, but we're going to keep moving, and we're going to find the right guys that want to be here.
Right. And you can't hold it against the kid. Like if they're like, because something else that doesn't get talked about enough, which I don't know if it's a big thing. Some do because they're trying to get closer to home. Maybe they have an opportunity to get closer to home. It is about money. So maybe they are getting some type of name, image, and likeness deal, which I want all college players to get some type of money. Not saying that.
It's the unintended consequences, right? There's a lot of good in it, like getting to a better fit, different coach, closer to home, whether that is financial opportunities, but there's unintended consequences that happen that because of these new rules and decisions being made by people that aren't on the ground floor of it have created some craziness a little bit, but there's still some good from it. And shoot, we're still playing 12 games in the fall, so it really doesn't. It really don't matter that much. We're still going to get out there and put a ball down.
Yeah, I defend all college coaches because I'm like, this is what I hear and see on Twitter or X, wherever you want to call it. Well, they're making all the money, like they can afford to work a little bit longer. And I'm like, number one, you're seeing the top dogs money. You're not seeing assistant coaches. You're not seeing FCS coaches. You're making enough money to live comfortably, but it's not Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, and Lincoln Riley money. I mean, like, guys, take a step back. You're adding this transfer portal now to where you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're on campus more, you're hosting more guys. As soon as the guy enters the portal, you got to find out where they are to go find and look and see if you have an opportunity to get them. And then if you're recruiting a kid in high school, 2 to 3 years later, he enters the portal. Did you keep that relationship going? Like, it's just extra work for you guys. So I defend all college coaches. I'm like, hey, they're earning their money right now when this just keeps changing and stuff keeps learning and keep working at it.
Heck yeah. And there's some good to it, because even if you're working on building relationships with a lot of different student athletes that are in the high school level, because if they don't go to you, you want to make sure that they think positively about you, because it might circle back and be an opportunity to work with you in the future. And even it's the same thing that goes with recruiting junior college guys or even transfers. We want to find the right guys that fit us, and we don't know where that relationship's going to come from. Obviously, when you start recruiting a transfer, it helps when there's some familiarity, whether it's myself or someone else on our staff, that they are familiar, because it's a great unknown and different from recruiting someone that's coming out of high school. When you're recruiting a high schooler, there's a process to it. You're getting to know them through a winter and spring, summer camps, visits, game day visits, official visits, home visits. I mean, there's sometimes anywhere from 12 to 6 months. I mean, there's a long time that goes into recruiting an individual high schooler, where a transfer might only be a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So there's a process that goes into doing your research and doing your homework and figuring out what are the things we need to make sure we see from that individual to have success within our program. And we're still developing that model and what works at Eastern, and whether that is bigger school transfer, smaller school transfer, JUCO transfer, and what area of the country, and there's a lot of variables that go into it, but you're trying to make those decisions pretty quickly, and you want to make sure you have the right information so that you're adding people that are going to stay and add value to the program, and not turn around and leave you in a year or two.
Right. Because like you said, all the stuff you do with the high school kid, you almost have to do at the transfer in a short amount of time. Like, you got to call the previous coach, you got to call the high school coach, you got to call this, you got to call this. You got to figure out, and
figure out the academic plan. Does it work?
Oh yeah.
And all the process that goes into it. And there's a lot of, there's man hours that goes into any transfer that you're trying to take, and trying to make sure, one, their academic program and degree fit, and are they eligible? Does it fit at Eastern? And then, like you said, you want to make sure that you're having communication with people on previous coaching staffs, whether it's high school, college, position coach, coordinator, head coach, whoever it is that you can glean the most information from to be successful. But there's definitely some time that goes into it.
Right. Because you just don't want to look at him and say, oh, he's 6'7", 320 pounds. We got to get him. Well, wait a minute. Why did he transfer? Did he cause problems? Did he steal? What was it? Like, you can't
trying to figure out their story. And it's just when you're recruiting somebody to high school, it's a little bit easier, because they're sitting under, where they're at, they're under their parents' roof. You're getting information from mom and dad and high school coach or mentors and people that have influence in their life. And then you want to make sure that you go do your homework beyond the tape. What's more? What are you not seeing that's on the tape? And
Right.
make sure you're doing your research and your homework. And it definitely has added some different elements and aspects to the recruiting process over the last several years. And like I said, it's ever changing right now.
Oh yeah, and it's trickling down to high school because now high school kids want to transfer, and
Wild.
it's like, again, if you don't win, then they talk about transferring. And I find it amazing in a high school because if you transfer, that means the parents have to move. Like, it's not college where it doesn't matter. Like, they have to move. And then in Illinois up here, we're dealing with Catholic school stuff and all that
Yep.
stuff, like recruiting. And so it's just wild because I've had that a couple times where kids come up and say like, oh, I'm going to go to such and such school. And then you have to be like, well, why? Like, why would you leave? And blah, blah. And now it's to a point where if a kid says, and I'm like, go, bye, see ya. Like, not try to be mean, but it's just like, okay. But then I thought about it. And I'm like, as a high school kid, I never thought about transferring to a school. But I think just subconsciously they're seeing it. And then that's all they, without thinking about it, that's what they say. And so when they're seeing an 8-year player in college and he's played at 6 schools, you're like, well, just keep transferring until you find the right team that wins. And then we'll just transfer there. And that's all over the place right now.
And I say this, like there's a lot of value in development, right? And you know this, when you're around the same, if you're fortunate enough to be around the same position coach, strength coach, coordinator, head coach for the entirety of your college experience, that's rare. But the longer you can do it, the better off you are, because you're learning the techniques, drills, terminology, language, and you're able to continue to build on that over the course of time. Like, the more you change schools, change programs, change coaches, that it diminishes your ability. And that's why I love recruiting, either recruiting. If we're going to recruit, we always recruit the high school guys because I want to be around them. I want my hands on it for a couple of years. I want to be able to mold them the way we need it. But if we are going to recruit transfers, trying to recruit guys that have more than a couple of years left, so that we can build that relationship and speak the same language and really dive into what we're trying to do offensively, and being able to invest them for a period of time. Because even if you're recruiting someone that's only got 1 year left, you're trying to quickly expedite the technique, the drills, the terminology, and sometimes it hits and sometimes it does not. And so making sure that we have plenty of time with someone so that they can be a part of and immerse them in our culture.
Well, I think that's what will lead to you guys hopefully having more success, because you guys haven't lost a lot and having a quick turnaround, seeing that it can work.
Yeah.
And for you guys keeping somewhat, I think you guys got most of your coaches, and then you bring in like Cole Hoover back who understands it, stuff like that. It can just kind of fit into itself much easier. Even with Coach Deckerson going from special teams to OC, he already knows, like, he understands it. And so I think it could lead to that.
And he knows, and having that small transition, and we lost some coaches, but we're able to replace with great people and great teachers and great men that, it's having the guys in the building that move around, like Coach Derrickson, like, he already knows what the players are on offense, obviously being the receivers coach. So being able to work with their skill set, and I'll say it all starts with having the right guy throwing the football. And I think, I think we can agree with that. Like, there's a lot of football that goes on in the country, and if you don't have the right guy throwing the football, it usually isn't as good as you want it to be.
Right.
I was fortunate to be coach on a team that had a really freaking good one a few years back, and one of the coaches on staff said it's 21-1. If that one's better than the other 21, it really doesn't matter. And when I worked at Utah State, Jordan Love was a hell of a quarterback, but he was a great leader in person, and it just fit. We wanted to make sure he got off the bus. Right. And I think we found that here, that in recruiting a transfer quarterback that had some experience, had some development, but really needed to be put in the right system. And he has excelled, Pierce Holly, in what we've done, and be able to have him back for one more year is a really good thing for our program.
Were you shocked that Jordan Love was that good in the NFL then?
No. Not one bit.
I'm a Bears fan. I'm sure maybe you are too. I'm like, I don't know. And
I'm a huge Bears fan, and I like to say this story because I was there for 2 seasons in 2017, 2018 with him, and a lot of my friends I grew up with, either high school or college, followed Utah State. And the second he got drafted, my phone was blowing up, like, very like, damn, like, because they watched it for a couple of years and knew that there was definitely an opportunity for him to be really good. And no shock, and it's been fun to watch.
Well, I'm just as a Bears fan, you get frustrated. Like, how do the Packers keep finding a
Yep.
quarterback that can come out and play?
No
For
question.
to him.
Yep.
And then you're like, I hope Caleb Williams can play because we're getting kind of tired of watching this.
Yeah.
And I think Caleb Williams will be fine. But I got thrown off because you said Jordan Love. I'm like, I can't believe you coached around Jordan Love. That's awesome. What was I going to say? So, what do you like about living in Charleston? I always ask new guys that come down there, like, because it's different.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's a college town living. I love the people here. The people are awesome. Whether that's the campus community or the surrounding community, there's a ton of support. But even when you're popping to one of the restaurants in town, or I'm a golfer, so I go to the golf course. Like, there's always people that they're just great people, and it doesn't matter. They could have no idea that I'm a football coach and just bump in and sit down and have a conversation. And I've really enjoyed being here and being a part of the community.
Which golf course you go to down there?
I go over to there's a couple, the Bentry, Meadowview, or then get over to the Charleston Country Club too.
Oh, Bentry is a college kid's dream because when I was at Eastern and lived in Charleston, the summer thing for them to be there in the summer was $50. That was your membership for the summer. And I was like, okay. And then to golf was like $20 for 18 holes. And you're like, okay. For a college kid, you're like, yep, this works. Meadowview, on the other hand, you're like, no. As a college kid, you were not going there.
You know what? We actually have a lot of our guys that go over to Meadowview, so I go over there with them every once in a while.
It's a nice course. It's a nice course. But like back then,
it's a little bit more expensive than Bentry.
Oh yeah, like back in 2010, 11. No, we weren't going over there.
Yeah.
I was getting stipends from Charleston High School for like coaching, so I thought I was rich. Like, $3,000, yeah. And they're like, you want to go to Meadowview? I was like, nah, I'm not that rich. I ain't going over there. Or, I'm gonna go to Bentry and do whatever I want. You don't need a tee time. You can just roll up and play. And then up here in the suburbs, you need a tee time. You can't just roll up and play.
A little bit different.
And
this is a great place. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being out here, and it's just I've fired up to get to another fall and just make sure we can put on a great opportunity, a great show for people in the community, because like you said, they'll come out and support, and we felt every bit of that last season through our home games, and can't wait to see it again.
How cool was it to meet Sean Payton and Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy G? That was an awesome thing. I saw all the pictures and videos, and that was awesome.
It really was. And just to see those guys back in their element, and this is home, right? And it's home for them, and they feel, you can see it. It's like you can see the visceral reaction, and just to see our players interact with them, because like they're Panthers, right? They're one and the same. They're both took the same field and played here, and I think that was really cool for our team to interact with some guys that not only had a ton of success here and walk this campus, but are having success in football and in professional football. So it was really a great opportunity for them. And I think a lot of guys took advantage of it, and they'll have memories from those couple days for the rest of their life.
Yep. Like I said, I helped out spring ball with Jimmy G, so I knew who he was, Arlington Heights kid. And then Sean Payton came back for a homecoming, and it was awesome because we went over. It's not called the Panther Paul, I don't think anymore, but the Paul on 4th Street. It was Sticks, then the Paul. That was the spot. We went there. My buddy's dad is the judge in Charleston, Judge Schick, and he's friends with Sean Payton. We go over there. Sean Payton takes off his Super Bowl ring and just passes it around. He's just, everybody can try it on. And I'm thinking, what if somebody just steals this? That was my thought process. And he just let everybody try it on, didn't care, paid for everybody's tab. He was just like, whatever people want, put it on here. He was talking to people. And I'm like, you really do love this town. And so getting to meet him was awesome. He was there for the graduation ceremonies and stuff and gives back. Jimmy G's the same way. Kyle Shanahan, same way. Never got to meet him, but he's the same way. And it's just awesome because there's that culture, right? Like that. Yeah. I hate the word culture, but it's what it is.
It gets blown. It gets thrown around, but you know what? It's like I said, it's home. And I think having someone like Coach Wilkerson in the building that can build that connection, because he's an alum too. So build a connection with those four guys and kind of bridge a little bit of that, and have been on staff when Tony Romo was here, that it really was a great weekend for Eastern and Eastern football.
Right. So I guess to kind of wrap it up, how do you get kids recruited to Eastern, because it is a small town. It's not like the other big towns. Like, what's a recruiting tool to bring kids to Eastern?
We love guys that we have a lot of guys in our program that play with a chip on their shoulder, and they treat it with a chip on their shoulder. Obviously, we have a great education and great degree in the state of Illinois. We'd love to stay within our radius. That's that 4 or 5 hour radius, and keep guys within driving distance, but find guys that want to play Division I football, play at a high level, and be a part of something special. It's about the guy on the right of you, the guy on the left of you, and it's about the brotherhood in the locker room, and really develop into something special. And I think that's been felt here. And I think in the last 2 years, seeing the number of guys that are alums come back in the program and how they talk about the university and the football program in their time really has been helped me really continue to sell Eastern and what it's all about. And that's such a special place to a lot of people that really we want to continue to enhance, improve, and move in the right direction. And like you said, culture, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's tangible. And we're moving in the right direction. We're investing in it, but we want to find the right people that fit what we're all about.
Right.
Blue collar, hard work, hard hat and lunch pail, guys that are all about the work and the work to work, and building those relationships with guys that will last a lifetime. And it all starts with doing it together.
Right. Love it. Last thing. What's it like being a skinny O-line coach? Can you being a skinny O-line coach isn't?
Oh, I'll get dogged for that. That's all right. It's, you know what, at some point it had to happen. And I tell people all the time, I was sitting on my couch and we were at COVID, and I needed something to exert some energy because I was sick of sitting on Zoom calls for meetings and recruits. So started doing it and it worked out, but it was I definitely feel that from some people. I have been asked if I'm a tight ends coach. Hell no, I'm not. I coach O-line through and through. I'll be the first one to mix it up. I'll be the first one to strike a pad, show the guys how to do it. I'm all about being in the dirt with them, but I'm O-line through and through.
Oh, no, that's awesome. I wanted to end it on a funny, positive note here. No, you can look however you want. As long as you're doing the right things with the O-line, who cares?
You're damn right. Done. Hey, so I got to ask you, though, what was your favorite place to eat when you were in Charleston?
Oh, God. I like Joey's.
Yeah, had it for lunch today.
Phenomenal. Joey's is good. Which, did you know, the owner of Jimmy John's and the owner of Joey's were working together at one point? Then something happened where they split, and Jimmy John said, you can't use what I use. And then so Joey's came up with their type of bread. So it was that was the original Jimmy John. So they split. What was the place? That's like Chipotle. It was like Mi Casa, You Casa.
Tu Casa.
It was called something else when it was first put there.
Okay.
Because then it got moved to Mattoon, but then they kept that one there. So I like that because it gave you that Chipotle feel. And I'm trying to remember everything. Those were like the places. Everything else is fast food.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fast food. O-line guys, you always got some food in there. Whether it's probably spent some time at Lincoln Garden.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that place. Oh yeah,
Lincoln Garden, can't beat it.
That was the first Arby's I'd ever seen that had breakfast.
Okay,
that was the first one, and it was actually pretty good. Like, I never seen an Arby's with breakfast. Like up here, they don't.
Nope.
That was the first one. And then, late at night, you're a college kid. There's a place there, maybe still there. It's called Chubby's Pizza. And you're like,
Chubby's Pizza's still here.
Their cheese sticks late at night at 2 a.m. were, not too bad. Their pizza is actually not bad, but I'm get shot.
Guy. So that was one of the things when I moved out here. I'm like, well, I got to make sure I have Monocles and Polly Eyes and Windy City. And then I'm like, well, I got to try Chubby's too. So it's not bad. It's all right.
Polly Eyes, that's the place.
Polly Eyes.
I love their pizza. If you want, I told people in Charleston, if you just want a pizza, you're going to get the pizza, the Papa John's, or if you just want a pizza. But if you want a pizza, you're going to Polly Eyes. And then it's not there anymore, was Jerry's. There's that empty. I worked there in the bar. And that's where I met my now wife. She had come in there as a bouncer and a bartender. The Chicago suburb people said that was the closest pizza they could get that was like up in Chicago.
Yeah. I need one of those to come back.
Oh, they tore it down. I was still living down there, and they tore it down, and they were going to put something else up, and it originally was called just Caesars, because I don't know if the old sign's still up, but there was a sign that said Jerry's.
Still there.
Okay, if you look closely at it, next time you drive by it, you're going to see a little indent that says Caesars.
Okay.
That's what it was called. Then Little Caesars came to town and said, no, we got to sue them. You can't be called Caesars. So they changed it to Jerry's. So that's a little snippet there. And it was set up perfectly. You had the pizza place up top and the bar in the basement. Like, it was set up perfect. And but yeah, Polly Eyes is good. I forgot about Polly Eyes. What was something else? Oh, Uptown, like up there, like in the Uptown bars, they have good burgers, like in Uptown in Charleston.
Yep, on the square.
Oh yeah, I'm an O-line guy. I had to go find food, and then Mattoon's got its stuff too. But you didn't want to drive there; you want to stay in town.
No, we stay close. I support local, man. Whether it's Dirty's or Ike's or wherever, we're gonna eat at the local spots.
Ike's is good, and then when I was there, Dirty's was good. I don't know if it still is, but it was when it first opened.
Dirty's awesome.
It's great. Like, that was your fancy place for Charles. I was like, this is the fancy place.
Yep.
And then my buddy knew the owner of Polly Eyes. So if we played poker and he would show up, I was like, I'm out, because he's going to outspend me every which way. Because, we're playing for like $20 here, $20 there. He comes in, he goes, all right, 300, and like throws it in. We're like, no, it's not how this works. Or my buddy's dad, who's the judge. Yeah, throw this down. You're like, no, that's okay.
It's deep for me.
Oh, yeah. And then the judge down there, Judge Schick, shout out, hosts the best Super Bowl parties. The best Super Bowl parties. And you can't get in trouble because he's the judge. So you're like, that's the other thing about Charleston. You become friends with the owners. You become friends with everybody. Local police officers, I'd see them like, hey, how's it going? And they talk to you. And that's the best thing about Charleston. My wife is not a big fan of Charleston anymore, but I still like that part of it. Me and Charleston High School had a bad marriage split, and that's okay. That's about that, but
it happens.
Yeah, but the rest of it, good people. I know the owner of Panther Liquors, Carl Wolf. He is a fantastic person. Like, he coaches at the high school, owns Panther Liquors, and I can tell stories off the record later on. But it's like, great people down there, fantastic.
Hell yeah!
Now you got me on a rant about the food. Now I keep thinking what used to be there that's not there anymore.
Hey, it's always a memory, right? It's food. Food always brings back a visceral reaction, right? So you want to make sure that you feel it, right? And it's going to get you back down here for a game in the fall.
Yeah. Every coach I've had on here from Eastern has like invited me to come down. Like Coach Hillman just did when I just had him. He goes, you need to come down in the summer and watch us work out and this and that. And I said, I'm going to try. My head coach wants to come down too and see it. We couldn't make it to the clinic. We thought that was awesome, but he coaches baseball, I coach softball, so we couldn't do it. And so I asked him, I said, hey, maybe in July, you and I take a road trip. Because he used to coach at Mattoon for about a year.
Come on down.
He loves it down there. If it wasn't for his wife, he'd be living in Mattoon. And he's from Lockport. And he's
okay.
Or no, he lives in Lockport, but he went to he lived in Tinley Park growing up. And so he's like, I would live in Mattoon. I'm a suburb guy, but I'd live in Mattoon. He goes, nothing better. You teaching coaching in the summer, you're golfing, mowing on a golf course, fixing up houses for extra money, doing whatever, and driving the country roads. And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing better. Nothing better.
No doubt.
All right, Coach. I appreciate all your time. Way to end it. Make me think about Charleston food. But I appreciate you coming on here.
All right, Coach. I appreciate. Thanks for having me. I'll make sure I get you some gear up there so we can get some blue in the background here.
Oh yes, sir.